Hi, I'm Sunny Morton, and I'm excited to pass on the pictures and memories I've recorded in these scrapbook albums to my children. I've made about 30 of these albums, and they're packed with the stories and memories of my children's childhoods. But here's the thing. My children don't have physical space in their lives for 30 scrapbook albums, and there's 3 kids and only one of each album. My other question is, how am I really going to make these stories even more powerful in the way I retell them for my children, as long as I'm going to be putting them in a different format anyway? So here's my plan. I'm going to first digitize the albums so that they can be distributed to all 3 children. I'm going to cherry pick several stories that I most want the children to internalize. I'm going to add my voice telling the stories over the top of the scanned images, and then I'm going to string together several of those little audio narrated images into a mini documentary, maybe 3 minutes long, that my kids can just watch and hear my voice, see the pictures, and get the stories. So how do I make this easy? Because that sounds like a lot. First, I'm going to use the Memory Station scanner because it's actually big enough to accommodate the 12 by 12 album, which is really large, too large for most scanners. The next thing I'm going to do is use the Memory Station software first to crop and color correct and enhance any of the images that just need a little tweaking, and next to audio record my voice over the top of the images, and then, same software, to string together several of those narrated images into that perfect 3-minute documentary for my children. One simple setup, one powerful result. Let me show you how it's done. So first, the scanning process. I'm going to open my book to the pages I want to scan and just slide it right over here into place. I've got these nice little lines that help me make sure that I've centered my image. I push it right up against the edge of the scanner so I capture the entire field. And then can you see that I kept it in the book, and the book is just a little bit dimensional. The trick for leveling all of that out so that your scanned image is nice and flat is to use this image stabilizer, which is made of museum grade acrylic. And I'm going to just put it right in place over the top. And because it is such a big, thick album with a little bit of wavy dimension to it, I'm just going to press down on it just a little bit until I can tell that it's nice and flat. Then all I have to do is press the scanner. All right, my first page is scanned. Wasn't that easy? I'm just going to repeat the process here. I'm going to take a quick peek over here. It shows me a nice little thumbnail image of what I scanned to make sure I'm super confident it's exactly what I wanted to scan. It looks great. So I'm just going to press continue scanning when I'm ready to go. Lining up the pages might be the thing you do that takes the most time. All right, and once again, I'm going to make sure I've pressed this down just a little bit to make sure that the surface is nice and level, and then I'll hit continue scanning. I take a quick peek of this thumbnail image over here. It looks great. I load my next page. All right, I'm ready to continue scanning. I love seeing these pictures of my kids again. This is the most fun part of it, is reliving some of these memories as I go. All right, that image looks good, so keep going. Just a couple more. And the last page. Oh, Oh, this one scanned upside down. The software must have thought that the photos were oriented a little differently. It's no worries, we can fix that over here in the Memory Station software. So I'll hit finish scanning. That was the last page. And now it's time to move on to some of the fun stuff. So the files are all scanned and the computer's telling me that they've all scanned properly. Okay, that's all I do is hit okay. And it's told me that it's added 9 files. And now I'm gonna hit next because I want to color correct them and take a closer look at what these images actually look like. So I'm going to choose the option to restore. All right, now it's time to take a look at these scans. The lovely thing for me about Restore, because I'm not a professional photographer or graphic designer, I don't really know how to work with images myself, is that Restore is going to give me several options for how it might want to correct the color balance or the quality of these images that it's scanned. And it's even going to suggest the one that it thinks is the best quality. My experience is it's usually right. So now I'm taking a look at the original image and the color corrected image side by side. I like what I see, so I just press save to move on to the next one. And I'm going to do that for each of these images. I like what I see. And again, I like the quality on that middle one. We take a look. Now this one's the upside down, so I just need to rotate it, which is really simple to do with this nice rotate button. Rotate it twice so that it's exactly the way I want to see it. And I will save and move on to the next one. And this one needs to be rotated. So the next process is going to be recording the narrative that goes over each picture. It's really simple to do. I've prepared for it because I want to say something specific for each picture. So from this screen, all I have to do is hit record and read my little script. And I'll hit stop record as soon as I'm done so I don't pick up a bunch of extra dead space at the end of the audio narration. Do you remember a weekend trip we took to Indianapolis? I do. It was the summer of 2014. So Jeremy was 13, Alex was 9, and Seneca was 8. We went to the Children's Museum and to Conner Prairie. At the Children's Museum, we got distracted by a race car exhibit, of course, since Indianapolis is home to the Indy 500 racetrack. All right, now I'm going to move to the next one and just the same thing over again and record each little narration that goes on top of each little picture. I'll hit record. But the reason we went to the Children's Museum this time was to see the Terracotta Warrior exhibit. And we played and we played and we played with all the fun statues. There was plenty more to enjoy, including games and a Dale Chihuly sculpture, which Alex was really into, and we caught a glimpse of the famous Indiana Jones props. Seneca especially loved the carousel, and everyone loved the life-size dinosaur world, where we found Seneca sitting on dinosaur eggs. Move right on to the next one. See how fast this goes? Our other stop was an adventure into history, Conner Prairie, which was really fun with kids because you could touch everything. And you did. You all loved the blacksmith shop, being allowed to lie on a rope spring bed, milk a cow, and pet a baby lamb. You played checkers. Jeremy played the harpsichord. I think that was a harpsichord. And you learned about woodworking and turning pottery. We didn't go up in the 1859 tethered hot air balloon, though. Not that day. Our last stop on the trip, even as you were starting to get really tired, was fun, pouring molten metal into a little mold to create little trinkets. You took them home with you, along with, I hope, many good memories of time with your family. I know that's what I took home. All right, now they're all recorded. I can play them all back in a row and see if I like how they sound. Or I can re record each little segment if I don't care for it. And that's all for the recording. Wasn't that easy? I'm just going to hit save all to move on to the next section. Now that we've finished recording, it's time to create our stories. So I just click Stories. And then if I wanted to put them in a different order, I could, but this is the order I want to tell the story in. So otherwise, I'm really happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and create my story. Like any video editing, at this point, you actually need to render the video. And look, my story was successfully created. So to save these images, I just hit Next. It's going to ask me where I want to save them. I'll save them to my computer. It will ask me if I want to scan more images, and right now I don't, so I just say, no, I'm done. So now the story's created. It was that simple. Let me show you how it turned out. Do you remember a weekend trip we took to Indianapolis? I do. It was the summer of 2014, so Jeremy was 13, Alex was 9, and Seneca had just turned 8. We went to the Children's Museum and to Connor Prairie. At the Children's Museum, we got distracted by a race car exhibit, of course, almost immediately, since Indianapolis is home of the Indy 500 racetrack. But the reason we went to the Children's Museum that weekend was to see the Terracotta Warrior exhibit, and we played and played and played with all the fun statues. There was plenty more to enjoy, including games and a Dale Chihuly sculpture, which Alex was really into, and we caught a glimpse of the famous Indiana Jones props. Seneca especially loved the carousel, and everyone loved the life-size dinosaur world, where we found Seneca sitting on dinosaur eggs. Our other stop was an adventure into history, Connor Prairie, which was so fun with you kids because you could touch everything. And you did. You all loved the blacksmith shop, being allowed to lie on a rope spring bed, milk a cow, and pet a baby lamb. You played checkers, played the harpsichord, I think that's what Jeremy is playing there, and you learned about woodworking and throwing pottery. We did not go up in the 1859 tethered hot air balloon, though. Our last stop on the trip, even as you were getting tired, was fun. Pouring molten metal into little molds to create little trinkets, which you're doing in the pictures across the bottom. You took them home with you, along with, I hope, many good memories of time with your family. I know that's what I took home.